mushroom shirt on. What's that noise? It's recording. Cool. So I'm just trying to do new things to build this channel. So I got a cool book called The Little Book of Mushrooms. I'm just gonna flip through it and read a little bit about mushrooms. Welcome to the mysterious and often misunderstood world of mushrooms. These organisms are a wonder in that they aren't quite plants, animals, or bacteria. There's something different to celebrate and explore. Mushrooms are recyclers, bridges between life and death, healers, feeders, teachers, killers, and so much more. Some can thrive in radioactive environments. I didn't know that. Others can hibernate underwater for millions of years, and still others may be brave enough to the extreme cold of Antarctica or the desolation of space. In 75 beautifully illustrated mushroom profiles that are remarkable in properties of these unique, beautiful, and scientifically sounding fungi, each profile from a delicious aborted Entoloma to the compelling zombie ant fungus will show you where each of these mushrooms lives, the mushroom's preferred habitat of growing conditions, any physical attributes that distinguish each fungus, what, if anything, each species of mushrooms are used for. I'm paraphrasing this as best as I can, and I'm reading, and I'm tired. So I don't want to do exactly what it says, but I'm doing mostly what it says. And it's helping me practice reading out loud, which I was in a special class for a little while, but not anymore. Now I'm really good at speaking. Anyways, you'll also learn about the culture, history, and the myriad use of these diverse fungi, or fungi. Come to appreciate the complex process that can take them from spores to mushrooms, and discover just how varied the kingdom of these seemingly simple organisms really is. So whether you're specifically a mushroom enthusiast or just a casual observer of the natural world in general, the Little Book of Mushrooms is guaranteed to help you celebrate the cryptic world of fungi. And this is actually a pretty cool book. It's $5 at Five Below. Let's begin. So let's see what the first one's about. Alright, basic introduction. Alright, I'm gonna do this like ever so often. I'll read some books, but I don't think I'll be able to finish all of this. I'll flip ahead to a couple cool, interesting ones. But we'll start off with the basics. Mushrooms are an integral part of life on Earth, and have a long history of worldwide relevance. They helped save lives, create forests, ecosystems, store carbon, make new materials, build soil, and feed people, animals, plants, and all of the life as we know it. This is the first part of the book that distinguishes the difference between mushrooms and fungi, but it will also break down the life cycle of mushrooms, describe the different types of mushrooms, provide a list of mycology-related terms, explain key components of the mushroom entries in the second part of this book. Before delving into a few scientific details about mushrooms and related terminology, we will take a brief look at the historical significance of mushrooms and their popularity. Why mushrooms? Mushrooms have been the cornerstone of many cultural ceremonies and rituals throughout history. Herbalists and others have been using mushrooms for centuries to support health. Psilocybin mushrooms are known for their psychoactive properties and may have been used as far back as 12,000 years ago in spiritual practices. Indigenous cultures and peoples of Central America feature these mushrooms in religious ceremonies and the art. They called them flesh of the gods. Aztecs and Mayans, as well as other groups worldwide, have used psilocybin for healing to connect with the divine. Many kinds of mushrooms have been used traditionally for herbal practices. More than 2,000 years ago, the Greek physician Hippocrates mentioned the agarikon mushrooms cure all capabilities, including against potentially fatal viral diseases. Traditional Chinese herbalists have prescribed mushroom blends to support overall health, wellness, and some species are believed to help supporting cardiovascular health, to support energy levels, and others promise to optimal immune system function. These the use, appreciation, and wonder of the mushroom has not lessened over time. Centuries later, the mushroom is still the forefront of both popular scientific culture. The organisms have a vast number of modern day applications. For the DIY or art enthusiasts, multiple species of mushrooms can be used to make paper. And as an added bonus, other species can be used to create pigment for such uses like ink. Other species, such as the tiger sawgill, are used for micro meditation or removing pollutants from the environment. The sawgill may be used for site runoff, while different mushrooms in the micromediation realm may focus on removing mercury or other undesirable things from the soil. To this day, many mushrooms have not revealed their true function or scientific potential, though studies are consistently underway. Now that you know why these organisms are relevant and worth celebrating, the question remains, what makes a mushroom a mushroom? So, I mean, it's pretty cool. They got all sorts of species. A lot of them are responsible for, curing diseases, um, decomposing organisms. They're just fascinating. Alright, we'll do this page and then I'll go to a couple specific ones that are interesting. What are mushrooms? Mushrooms are complex organisms with unique characteristics that distinguish them from plants. Instead of seeds, mushrooms have microscopic spores that spread in a variety of ways. Some spores are dispersed via animals' willing or unwilling cooperation, while some are spread by passing breeze. When these spores land on a life-sustaining material, they will grow mycelium, microscopic roots. So, if you ever seen The Last of Us, I know in the video game, a big part of the game was they had to wear gas masks so they didn't actually ingest the spores, which are airborne. The cool thing about that show and the game, I watched both the game playthrough. I didn't get to play it, but I watched the game playthrough and the show just to see how it compared, and I really enjoyed the beginning of it. They were talking about ergot, which is an infected fungus on rye seed, which is where they got lysergic acid diethylamide, as well as them talking about fungus being a big thing, and they use basically cookies and bread and the cake. If you look back at the first episode, they were offered biscuits. They tried to get cake. They tried to have pancakes. The cookies, all things were basically wheat, or basically they had the fungus in them, so people were eating it, and also went airborne, and then it started spreading when people started biting each other and spreading it that way. I thought that was really cool. So now I'm going to skip ahead over, actually I'm going to read this. Mushrooms versus fungi. The fungi kingdom includes much more than just mushrooms. Fungi consists of both multicellular organisms and unicellular organisms in addition to mushrooms. They may take the form of any of the following: molds, yeasts, mildews, rust plant diseases, smut plant diseases. All type of fungi share key characteristics. They cannot produce their own food, unlike plants which have photosynthesis. So far it seems like like mold and yeast, all the bad fungi is fungi instead of mushrooms, basically. Um, Many make efficient decomposers, basically, and they reproduce through the release of their spores. Certain type of fungi, if given proper circumstances, may result in the fruiting body of a mushroom. However, only certain types of fungi do this, and if appropriate environment presents itself. For example, some mushroom species grow only on certain types of trees. Without those trees, mushrooms growth will not occur. Think of mushrooms as reproduction, like of apples on an apple tree. Like apples, which are fruiting bodies containing seeds of the apple tree, the mushrooms are fruiting bodies of a fungus. Instead of seeds, they contain spores. Mushrooms help distribute spores when eaten or otherwise spread, just as apples distribute seeds. When the spores spread, the mushroom's DNA spreads. The species can survive. The life cycle of mushrooms. Mushrooms have interesting, intricate growing patterns. The mushrooms have life cycle that is typically broken into 4 parts. All this is kind of new to me. I didn't know this stuff. So mushrooms, hypae, Hyphae, spores, and mycelium. Remember, all mushrooms are different, and this is a broad generalization of the most common lifespan. Alright, let's see if I can. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm gonna skip different types of mushrooms. I'm gonna go to like something cool, and then I'm gonna hop off here because I'm tired and I'm gonna go to sleep. Let's find something like wickedly cool. Give me a second. So I want to find something that's like super cool looking. Read about it. Maybe I can find. I know what I'm looking for first. First one I want to find. Yeah, they got everything in here. This is kind of cool. Alright, so I was talking about The Last of Us. So basically, there's a fungus that will be a parasite, mostly with ants and other insects, where it will take over the body of an insect and use it as a host, so it can get to a certain place and spread and create more. It's basically what they base the show off of. So those mushrooms were called cordyceps. So I think it's pretty cool. Cordyceps. All right, at a glance, geographic location. All continents except for Antarctica. Growing location, primarily on moth cocoons or pupae, which are nuzzled in moss or leaf litter. So it looks like they attack moths. Characteristics, similar in appearance to the cheese puff. This mushroom is orange, club-shaped, Asomycota, or a type of fungi that is also known as sac fungi because they have tiny sacs called Parathecea, where the spores are held. Yeah, they got some words in here that are tricky. These mushrooms grow out of the soil or moss on a black cocoon or pupa. So primary use, functionable and edible. So people eat these. I don't think I would. I think just the fact that they take over a host is kind of creepy. I don't think I want to try something like that. I like portobello. I like baby baby bellas. I like to make mushrooms like that. Cordyceps, also called the scarlet caterpillar club mushroom, was first named in 1753 by Carl Linnaeus, the father of taxonomy, after he discovered them growing in the wild, native to all continents except for Antarctica. This pervasive mushroom can also be cultivated artificially on a farm for grocery or for health food needs. First grown in the United States by Miss Green at Cornell University in 1894, this mushroom has widely become popular with professional cultivators and home growers. Today, it is primarily grown in Asia at a capacity of 100 of millions of dried kilos a year. 100 million dried kilos a year. That's just crazy amount. And they grow fast, so I mean, it makes sense. This mushroom is classified as a entomopathogenic fungus, meaning it attacks and feeds on insects in the wild. However, the most popular cultivation method of this mushroom is vegan, using rice as a growing medium in jars or trays. In the wild, cordyceps are found mostly in damp areas like by streams, marsh, or riverbeds. They like to grow on moss, leaf litter in areas with high humidity, stromas, or stalks, and they grow to a maximum height of about 3 inches. Due to their small size, cordyceps can be extremely hard to spot when foraging for them. Normally, you will find one mushroom per moth cocoon, but sometimes you will find up to 8 mushrooms popping out of one cocoon. This mushroom is ready to harvest when the tip of the stroma is covered in a tiny orange bump called a perithecia, which are sacs that hold the spores. Be careful when taking out a cocoon that's buried underground, as it is usually properly identified the mushroom. If you were to break them, this cocoon inside a dense whitish mass of mycelium where the former pupa used to be. Once picked, these mushrooms can be dried and sent for DNA analysis and sent from a mushroom farm to cultivate and the mushroom tissue, resulting in more mushrooms. People will typically ingest this mushroom in dual extracted tincture, powder, or capsule, making a tea or soup broth as a delicious option, but you only get a fraction of the beneficial compounds this way. The most common part of the fungi is used in herbalism is actually mushroom fruiting bodies, not the bug or the mycelium. Cordyceps mushrooms fruiting bodies have many more benefits than any other parts of the fungus. So basically, don't eat the bug, don't eat the fucked up shit. You want to eat like the actual fruiting bodies. So I wanted to put that one out there. There's one more that I wanted. Well, this one's kind of cool. I might come back to that. But what is it? There's one that's really. All right. So this one, someone you want to watch out for. All right, with Death Cap. At a glance. Geographical location: North America, North Africa, Middle East. Growing location: on the ground in a mycorrhizal association with trees. Characteristics: the cap and stem mushroom has a white cap with a green, tan, and yellow hue. It sprouts from an egg-like structure and has partial veil on the stem. Primarily used, potentially fatal if ingested. Basically, if you eat this thing, what I believe I've read is that you feel fine for the first couple days, and then all of a sudden it starts shutting down your organs. It fucks your liver up, and then your kidneys, and then you're done. There's no going back. There's no cure. And people eat it because they mistake it for something else, and they don't know until it's too late. Basically, you can't tell. The infamous death cap mushroom is the deadliest mushroom on the planet, resulting in the most mushroom poisoning deaths in the world. It was first described by French botanist Sebastien Villien in 1727, but it was later given its Latin name Amanita Phalloides Phalloides by German naturalist Johann Henrik Friedrich Link in 1833. This mushroom is often grouped alongside the deadly destroying angel mushroom species Amanita bisporea, blah 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 blah. Anyways, the death cap responsible for the most infamous poisonous in histories. The Roman Emperor Claudius, possibly the Pope Clement the Seventh, the Russian Natalia Nerashinkia. A bunch of famous people ate this shit and died. That's what it's saying. Old people. Yeah. So these are very similar in appearance to other mushrooms. So people got confused. They got the wrong shit, and they died. I mean, it kind of looks like a big portobello almost. You know. I can see how someone can make a mistake easily. To make things even worse, the death cap also looks like another of the most commonly consumed mushrooms in the world, the paddy straw mushroom. Just like I said. This is especially dangerous for people who grow up eating paddy straw mushroom in Southeast Asia. If these people then move to a different country where the death cap mushroom grows in the wild, they might get excited, harvest, and cook with the death cap, and then poison their family and friends. Oh, how wonderful. People have eaten this mushroom, claim it tastes really damn good. And the systems don't kick until the final few days after ingesting it. Just like I said, it sits in your digestive system and attacks your liver and shuts your ass down within a few days. You have no idea anything's wrong until it's too fucking late. Usually when people are poisoned, symptoms are most instant or almost instant, so they can be treated quickly. But with the death cap, the delay of symptoms makes it hard for the ER to cure before things take a turn for the worse. The damaging effects come from various compounds in this mushroom. There are at least 8 toxins that have been discovered in the death cap. This mushroom targets the body's cells, affecting cell metabolism and leading to organ failure. Just like I said, shuts down your liver. Your liver and then your kidneys are in the most trouble, which is why so many people need either a liver transplant after ingesting these mushrooms, if you're even able to get one. Yeah, and if you don't, you're pretty much screwed. The mortality rate of the death cap mushroom, this mushroom has claimed many victims over the years. The mortality rate of the death cap mushroom is at 60 to 70% in the mid 20th century. Because of the recent medical advancements, mortality rate has dropped to 10 to 15%, but that is not an invitation to try your luck with this poisonous mushroom. Yeah, there's like totally some, let's see, some really cool, damn, like they got crazy names, the Devil Cigar. Like, I'm gonna have to do more reading of this book. There's like one other one that I wanted to read about. Nope. So that. So everybody's seen this. Amanita muscaria, also known as the fly agaric. So I just wanted to read this one real quick. Fly agaric, Amanita muscaria. At a glance, geographical location. Temperature in boreal regions of the northern hemisphere, but being introduced to the southern hemisphere as well. Growing location on the ground, mycorrhizal association with deciduous and coniferous trees. Characteristics: classic cap and stem mushroom with white stem, right bread cap with white scales. Primary use: psychoactive and edible if prepared correctly. So, from what I've heard, is you have to cook it before you ingest it. Otherwise, the toxins can do a lot of harm. Um, the fly agaric, also known as fly amneta, has the quintessential mushroom look, getting recognition on postcards, T-shirts, and video games, and as houses in the Smurfs franchise, even in the standard mushroom emoji on every technological platform. This mushroom is known for its bright colors and generic cap and stem shape. For people who grew up playing Super Mario video games, the mushroom gives Mario his size boost and is one of the most prevalent icons of the hugely popular game series, and it's just like the fly guard. These are theories that this mushroom was responsible for the Santa Claus story. Most people know today the indigenous people of Siberia have been using the mushroom for ages. They grow underneath evergreen trees like presents under a Christmas tree, and once picked, they're either hung from the tree to dry like ornaments or stuffed in stockings over a fireplace to dry. Sometimes they chop off the caps, which they call cookies, and weave them together to make a wreath. The story goes that around winter time, the winter solstice, a shaman would go from hut to hut on a sleigh with reindeer, pulling with a reindeer with a bag full of mushrooms and give them to the people's gifts. The reindeer would eat these mushrooms and as well, so that they might felt like they were flying. The shaman eating these were jolly, just as the stories describe. A lot of times there would be so much snow that the mushroom Santa Claus shaman would have to climb into the smoke hole or chimney with a bag of gifts. There were no currency exchange, only exchange for food, leaving out cookies, carrots, also rehydrated milk to eat as a snack. Whether or not this is true, the origin story of Santa Claus will never know. But this is Greer for trivia to share with your friends. The fly agaric is semi-toxic, so it's a toxic. It's not like, most mushrooms have properties, obviously. It's a toxin. I believe it's atropine, isn't it? Anyways, flying agaric is semi-toxic because it contains toxic acid called ibotenic. However, this acid gets broken down in a person's liver into psychedelic compound called muscimol. Those looking to cook the fly agaric should boil the mushrooms and keep removing and replacing the water to remove the toxic acid and the psychedelic muscimol to make a non-psychoactive edible meal. If you want a psychoactive experience, you would have to dry heat to convert the acid to a psychedelic compound. However, the psychoactive effects of the fly agaric are considered to be very unpredictable, and it's not a popular mushroom choice for looking for a psychoactive experience. And like I read about it, apparently it's more of like a delirium kind of thing, like a drunken feeling, and it's intoxication basically, Dennis McKenna, if you look him up, he'll go in depth into his experience about it. If you're interested in mushrooms, like that, Dennis McKenna or Terrence McKenna are like the go-to. So, the famous Santa Claus mushroom. And with that, I'm gonna end this cast. I'm gonna do more reading from this book and others. I got a shit ton of books. I got this book, it's like Intuition. You got all sorts of stuff, man. But I'm out for now.